we as a society will never get rid of horizontally staggered QWERTY. This is just the reality of the situation. And I mean, it's not really a big problem, of course, but I still want to discuss this because I find it quite interesting and it has parallels in other topics. But of course, first, I mean, what's horizontally staggered QWERTY? I mean, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it. This is what it is. It's a keyboard, basically. Well, not basically, it's the kind of form of a keyboard we know. That's normal in our society. But this is not really rationally thought through at all. This is the product or the end result of a organic process of growth and development and has nothing to do with rational thought. I mean, you probably know this, but I mean, the keyboard layout, the normal horizontally staggered QWERTY keyboard layout is really goes back to typewriters, because back then typewriters, of course, they were mechanical. I mean, typewriters are mechanical, and if the keys were not horizontally staggered, they would kind of collide, and this would cause mechanical problems. And the letters on the keyboard, so where each letter is located, goes also back to this mechanical, to mechanical problems, because if you were to type too fast on these machines, they would kind of hang and not work anymore and whatnot. So you would again get mechanical problems. But with keyboard layouts, like with computer keyboards, this of course is no longer relevant at all. Like there's no mechanical aspect here that could cause problems for more efficient layouts. But because of just how things developed, this is still the normal keyboard layout everywhere. Like there's not a single, I don't think, I have never seen a single like laptop that doesn't have this exact keyboard layout. And I mean, mine here is like some, I don't know what this is, because it has like some other characters there, but it's, I mean, that's horizontally staggered QWERTY. And I mean, in German we have like QWERTs or whatever, but it's all the same. Alright, so, and I mean, I personally use this, so this is a keyboard I made some years ago, and I still use it. At least mostly I use it when I know I have some more work to do, when it's not just typing something into a search bar or like, yeah, just doing like small stuff, but actually writing software, I use this because this is actually like thought through. And I also don't use so this is not horizontally staggered, it's vertically staggered because your fingers are not the same length. Obviously. And this is also not, I mean, this doesn't have letters on it, so, but this is also not QWERTY, so I don't use QWERTY, I use Dvorak, if you know that. Alright, so, but kind of back to the, why is this the state of society? Like, why is it like that and not different? It's because it is a local maximum. Meaning, and I have this nice graphic here, well, nice, okay, you can debate it. But, so on the left we have horizontally staggered QWERTY, and on the right this kind of ascending path, this ascending graph is like some form of ergonomic, Dvorak, Colmac, Neo, like some keyboard layout that's actually like thought out, like actually rationally thought about. And in the middle here, there we have this like kind of drop. And this is kind of, I mean, I didn't really name the axis because, yeah, I think thinking about it in like more abstract terms is better. But I mean, you can even think about it in terms of if you were to name the axis, like the y-axis, name that efficiency, and the x-axis name that time. And efficiency not in singular efficiency, but rather in total societal efficiency. And the reason we are kind of stuck in this QWERTY like local maximum is because we have a standardized keyboard layout. And the fact that it is standardized and the fact that it is the same everywhere makes it more efficient on a societal scale than something else. Like if you are to learn, for example, Dvorak, it will of course make you more efficient, make your typing more efficient, make your fingers have to move less and all that stuff. All these arguments you know, and heard 1,000 times, of course. But again, on a societal scale, you can't really change this local, like you can't move from that local maximum because that would be inefficient. Of course, on a long enough time scale, or on a long enough scale, or on a big enough scale, what I mean to say, this would of course, like at the end, it would be more efficient to change to something else, but typing is not really that big of a deal. So yeah, so efficiency is really the main point here. And that's also the reason things have not developed differently. Because if you think back to typewriters, okay, so typewriters had these mechanical limitations, but okay, so we'll just create typewriters that use horizontally staggered QWERTY because that's what we kind of have to do. And then everyone learns to use a typewriter. And then when like computer keyboards come around, you say, well, which keyboard layout should we use? And like no one's like the people who say, well, we should rationally think about this because we don't have these mechanical limitations, then they are kind of, they are hurt, sure, but they are not, like their opinion is not the most efficient, because the most efficient is to use what you already have. Okay, lots of people know horizontally staggered QWERTY. We'll just use that because then people don't have to learn new things. We don't have to have courses. We don't have to have learning material. People don't have to change, and so on and so forth. So this is really efficiency in this point. All right, so I want to kind of discuss further about this because, of course, you have like parallels in other aspects, also in other like technological aspects. Because if you think about like, we can even think about like x64 or x86-64 or x86 in general, because I think this is kind of the same way, and we are kind of starting to see this change. Because if we go back to this graph here, and we replace horizontally staggered QWERTY with x86-64 and the ergonomic drawer Colmac Neo something with like ARM, we can really see how our world is developing. Because you could say, and I think this is nowadays, especially with like the Mac, the Apple M1 chips and whatnot, which are just so efficient and just so fast and so groundbreaking, whatever. And I mean, sure, I mean, you can debate what's better and what not, but I think to be able to like kind of get out of this local maximum, you need to go through this kind of hole of like less efficiency. And this hole can only be kind of gone through with enough resources. And I think Apple is like one of the only entities, like one of the only organizations which has enough resources to like pull something like this off. And I mean, they have. So that kind of proves the point. But again, it takes like so many resources. But also, again, the only thing that has happened is because the reward is just so big. And with something like keyboard layout, the reward is really non-existent. Because, I mean, especially like at this point in time, because AI, you know, I mean, who still types at their keyboard? Really, the only thing people, like most people nowadays type, or, well, maybe not nowadays, but I mean, we see where the trend's going. So most people, most things people will type will be simple prompts to some AI. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter how efficient your keyboard is for that purpose, I guess. And also, this is another point, because recently in some recent video, I think it was about Emacs macros, I mentioned that I started learning stenography using Plover, the Plover software. And so if you don't know what stenography is, it's basically you don't hit individual keys, but you hit multiple keys at the same time to produce whole words. So for example, hitting the H and L key at the same time would produce the word hello, and so on and so forth. And stenography is used for, like, if you are, for example, if you think about like a courtroom, there are stenographers who transcript the whole thing. At least that's how it used to be. Maybe now they just use AI or something. I don't know. So, and I thought I would learn it because I have been writing quite a bit in like recent times, and I thought that would be fun. But I realized that's just too deep a hole I would have to go through. So deep, in fact, that I just couldn't do it. I thought to myself, well, what's this for? And I just went back to like using my normal keyboard because it's just too much of a change, and it would be so inefficient, like not even inefficient in a time sense. I would have to spend so much time and energy on learning this, and the reward would be, well, let's just say negligible. Because I mean, when you write something, it's really not about speed anyways. Like in most cases, the bottleneck is your brain and not your fingers. And the same with, it's kind of with programming, I guess. So, yeah, and I'm not advocating for inefficiency. I just want to say that that's an example where in my life that kind of hasn't played out that well. Or what I mean with played out that well, for me personally, it's better to not like learn a more efficient input method, yeah, in my situation at this point. And I also don't know if anyone like has ever used Steno for like writing or something like that, or also for programming and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not really a well tested out field, I guess. All right, I think that's pretty much it. So again, my point here is about efficiency, and about like, if you think about it on a societal scale, you can't really only think about efficiency in like a purely like technical sense, in like a hardware or software sense, but you also have to think about the context, and the context includes other people, and it includes everything, of course. So it also, and something that is standardized and a lot of people use, will be in that sense more efficient. And it's the same way, I mean, yeah, I can add this point, I guess. It's the same way with programming languages. I mean, I like Lisp and I like Scheme and Chicken Scheme and stuff like that. But of course, like, this is kind of a very, like, it is a niche and it is not mainstream. So if you want to program like something, you will in most cases be like, it will be more efficient to choose a language that's used by a lot of people, because then you will have access to what these people have written. You will have access to the resources they have written, to the programs they've written, to the libraries, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think this is a kind of obvious point, or a kind of intuitive point that's very clear. But if you think about it like that, with in terms of like local maximum and stuff like that, I think it kind of gets clear. Because when we talk about programming languages and syntax, I mean, the Lisp syntax, like S expression syntax, is really a absolute maximum, because it is technically convergent. Like, if you think about like abstract syntax trees, and you think about, okay, how far can or should or need I move away from that? Like, S expressions are the next thing. They are like the same thing, pretty much. Well, I mean, not the same thing, but you kind of, I hope you kind of get my point. And everything that moves like further from that is, in that sense, more abstract and less, well, in some sense more abstract, because you're kind of abstracting away from the things the computer interprets, but in some sense also less abstract. Well, okay, so I don't know about that, but I guess I haven't thought about it that much. But yeah, I kind of hope you get my point about like local maximum and efficiency and stuff like that. At least in regards to keyboard layout. And this goes back to a video I made a while ago about why you should, or the other video was about why you shouldn't obsess over means and tools. Yeah, so this is kind of a how could you say, kind of for completion's sake. Well, not only for completion's sake, but in that kind of sense, in that kind of vein, I mean. All right, so that's it. Have a nice day.